Welcome to Founder Stories, where we dive into the journeys of cybersecurity leaders, from first-time founders to industry veterans. Each story reveals the passion, resilience, and problem-solving spirit that drives innovation forward. Whether it's tackling financial challenges, conquering regulations, or building great company culture, these founders have insights and advice that inspire. Let's hear their stories. Welcome, folks, to Founder Stories, the show where we interview cybersecurity founders to find out just how awesome their lives are, how difficult their lives are, how rewarding their lives are. I'm your host, Allan Alford, and with me today for our inaugural episode is Sivan Tehila. She's the CEO over at Onyxia, and Onyxia, who, if you don't know, produces a cybersecurity management platform. Sivan, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. First question for you then. Of all the ways that you can positively impact the cybersecurity world, why did you choose to be a founder?
Yeah, so, it wasn't really something I was thinking about a few years ago. I started my career in the Israeli army. I served for 10 years as a cybersecurity officer, and I was the CISO of the research and analysis division. And that's how really I ended up in this industry. And after that, I worked in different companies, and I worked very closely with CISOs, helping them develop security programs and thinking about what kind of solutions they need to implement in their environments. And I realized that when I was a CISO, I experienced the same pain of trying to connect all the dots and leveraging the data that we have on each source. And I figured, why won't I just solve this pain that I've experienced and I see so many other CISOs struggle with? And we see that this is a process that is being done in a very manual way. It's something that so many other people and great people and companies tried to solve in the past. And I think I got to the point when I had to turn this passion or need to solve a pain into reality. And that's how I ended up basically founding the company.
Somebody has to step up, huh? I love that. So let me ask you this. You do that. You make that choice. You've stepped up. Now you're a founder. You're doing your thing. You get into what you're doing, and your company's been going for a while now. And you get employees, and you get mission, and you get customers, and all these cool things start to happen. And it's been my experience with my founder friends. They have trouble sometimes turning off the sheer, like, the drive, the desire, the fire, the awesomeness, if you will, of being a founder, right? Like, you want to tell everybody, here's what we do and here's how we're saving the world and all that. Like, how do you kind of control that, right? Like if you go to a dinner party, are you in founder mode, or is there a way you can turn that off?
I have a nice story for you.
Mm-hmm.
When I started the company, it was even before I officially started. It was 3 years ago, and one of the things I do when I really want to disconnect is I'm doing pedal boarding. So I pedal on the Hudson here in
Okay.
New York. I am storing my board in the boathouse near the Intrepid Museum. And when I need to really disconnect, I go on the water for a few hours, usually on the weekends. And that's what I did back then. And it was a weekend. I went with friends and we started to pedal. And at some point, it was so windy. So my friends they were on a kayak, and on a pedal board, it's like a little different sometimes. It's
Yeah.
hard to keep up. So I stayed behind, and then a random person in a kayak joined me, and he started to speak to me and ask me where I'm from, what am I doing, and all of the sudden, I found myself pitching him this idea of develop a platform for CISOs, and he's a real estate guy. But I guess I was so excited about what I'm pitching. And I never met this guy before, and it ended up to be one of my first investors in the company.
Wow.
So, I really wanted to disconnect, but I found myself speaking with a stranger in the middle of the Hudson about the company. And I guess I was so passionate and excited. And even though it's not his space at all, he ended up investing in the company, bringing his friends. So we stayed friends, and now he's really involved. But I guess that's my story on how I'm trying to disconnect, but still having troubles. But sometimes there are good outcomes out of it.
But it paid off, right? You couldn't
Yeah.
turn off founder mode, and then it paid off for you anyway, right? That is awesome. Oh, that's incredible. All right. So speaking of pitching, I think it's important. One thing that I find with my founder friends is that they sort of tend to kind of blur the line between the company and the product, between the mission and the vision and the product, right? And so what I always say to people is, here's my challenge for every founder: without describing how your company's products and services fit into the cybersecurity technology ecosystem, or the management, realm in this case, how does your company itself fit into the cybersecurity ecosystem in general?
Yeah, so, I think that one of the things I've noticed since I started, and it's very important to me to stay very connected to the field, speak to CISOs all the time. And when we started, I spoke with around 200 CISOs to understand exactly what the reality looks like. You really want to build something that is relevant and solve a real need, and in a really good way, like something that is easy to use. And one of the things I've noticed, and I heard so many CISOs say, is that most of the time they purchase products not for themselves, but for everyone else on their teams. Like
Mm-hmm.
whether it's the detection and response team, vulnerability management, identity and access management, but no one is really like selling a product for the CISO. And CISO is a C-level executive, like everyone else. We see almost any other C-level with management platform, right? Salesforce for CROs, Marketo for CMOs. Try not to say so many names, but like
Yeah.
CISOs
Yeah.
don't really have this management platform. And
Sure.
I think that the fact that in this complex environment, I think it's really about time for CISOs to have something for them. And I think, I mean, regardless like what we do and how we do that, we found it very interesting that, and I think like the exact number out of this survey was that nearly 85% of the CISOs are also like still using spreadsheets and manual
Mm-hmm.
data collection in order to really uh, manage and assess their efforts. And I really think that there is no reason why they'll still do that this way. And we're talking about having CISOs more involved in boards. On the other end, we see more board members being involved in cybersecurity initiatives and decisions. And if, a few years ago it wasn't really a must to have thing, I think now we do see a need, and we also see some regulations that require companies and boards and executives to be more involved. So I think that the way we really fit in is like really solving the CISO problem, like we got to the stage where CISOs really need to be at the center. At the end of the day, they're managing things, and it's becoming even more complex when you have not like the personal liability that we
Mm-hmm.
see, liability and accountability. So I think we're going to see probably more companies trying to focus on the CISO's need. Like
Mm-hmm.
obviously CISOs will be targeted, and they're still targeted. It doesn't matter what you sell. But I think that the excitement that I see when someone is really trying to address the day-to-day challenges of the CISOs, it's very interesting. And I also often say that like my dream as a CISO was to be able to wake up in the morning and like I'm asking Alexa, hey Alexa, how is the weather today? I want to be able to go to one place and ask a platform like Onyxia, hey Onyxia, what are the top 3 things I should be afraid of today? What are the top 3 things I should focus on today? And like even do that from my mobile phone if I can while I'm
Yeah.
drinking my coffee in the morning.
Nice.
So I think it's really about the way like we execute, and the persona, the actual persona that we target. And
Serving the CISO themselves rather than the traditional users of the tech stack, right? That's really
yeah,
good. So you mentioned having 200 CISOs you interviewed, which is a really good kind of segue into the next topic I wanted to talk about, which is advisors. No startup, no founder can succeed without good advisors. And the question I have for you is, who makes the best advisors? Like how do you know who to pick? Who are the best advisors?
So yeah, I mean, I will start with saying that I'm very grateful and thankful for our incredible group of advisors. And as I mentioned, we're targeting CISOs, so we really needed knowledgeable, experienced CISOs as advisors. And we made a
Mm-hmm.
decision to have CISO advisory boards, so CISOs with background in the field, CISOs that are still um, facing this pain that we're talking about and can really express how the platform we're developing help them address those day-to-day pains. So I think the nice thing about it is that we also developed a very good relationship with our CISOs. I think like some of the CISO advisors became investors as well along the way,
Mm-hmm.
which I find it very exciting because I think that this is a great validation to the fact that we're solving a real pain for them. And they were so
Mm-hmm.
excited about this, and they got to meet us and they got to
Mm-hmm.
see
Mm-hmm.
the platform being developed. And eventually they also ended up as investors, even though it wasn't really the main goal of the conversation. So we
Yeah.
have Rinki Sethi, who is the CISO of Bill.com, and Chris Roberts is an advisor, and yeah, I know you're. I know you have a history. We have Lucas Modi, who is the CISO
Mm-hmm.
of Alteryx.
Mm-hmm.
We have Anshu Gupta and Simon, who was this a legendary CISO of BP. So we
Hodgkinson.
have, yeah, great, and yeah, and I think each one of them really brings a lot to the table, and I'm very grateful every day because anything we're developing is really with their help. And another thing I want to say is that our customers are also kind of advisors. I think
Yeah.
that the nice thing about developing a product that is addressing the CISO pain is that every customer of ours become part of the mission. So sometimes there is something we didn't think about, but if a CISO is suggesting us to measure a specific API or to develop a specific report for a specific need, everyone else in the community or everyone else who's using our platform really benefit from that. And I think this is another type of advisory opportunity that CISOs really feel good about it because they really feel like they're part of the mission and they're also
Mm-hmm.
contributing to the community through um, basically by engaging with us. So
Yeah. I love that. And the advisor who becomes customer, pretty common story. Advisor who becomes investor, not a common story at all. That's really good to hear. That's excellent. Which brings me to this. We're talking about all the positives here, and I've got founder friends that just like I have CISO friends who somebody asked me how do I become a CISO, and the answer is, oh, you really don't want to. You see that kind of negativity a lot. You see it with founders. You see it with CISO, a little sarcasm, a little cynicism, a little, oh, I don't know if you really want to go down this road. So I'm going to ask you to be positive on this one. I want you to think of words of encouragement. Somebody comes up to you and says, I'm kind of scared, but I'm thinking about becoming a founder myself. How do you encourage them to do it? What do you say?
you know, just go for it. I think there is nothing like that. I was a CISO and I was practitioner, and I've done really great things. But if you have a passion to solve a real problem, I don't think you can really sleep good at night if you're not at least trying. And I think this is like also I'm always thinking about my daughter. I have a 9-year-old daughter, and she often like see me speak to clients and investors, and I have my highs and lows and bad days and good days like any other founder. Um, and like I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, she asked me like before we said goodnight, Mom, what are your goals with the company? And I was like, oh my God, I have another board member at home. But it was very interesting to me to see how like she's being exposed also to like this all new world. And sometimes I think to myself, like, I wish I knew like all the things that she's getting exposed, like
Yeah.
before I started. So I mean, I learned a lot about myself and about, this whole role and this whole world. And I'm getting exposed to different directions and perspectives. And there is really nothing like that. Building something from scratch and making a dream become a reality. It's amazing, regardless the outcome at the end. So I'm encouraging anyone who is passionate about something or an idea to just go for it.
That is incredible. That's words of encouragement indeed. All right, so Sivan, last question for you. You used to be a practitioner, and so here you are in the founder camp. Having previously been a practitioner, you kind of know that world. You used to live in that world, right? You understand it pretty well. But here we are, the practitioners who have never been founders. We don't understand your world. So what is it you want us to know about founder life?
I think it's an amazing opportunity to wear different hats in one day, in one single day. So, I can wake up in the morning and then I'm a founder. I'm like pitching to investors. And then, I'm always, I guess, the founder is always the best salesperson of the company. So
Yeah.
at another call, I'm like the salesperson. And sometimes I also like need to do the other work, like finance, HR, some other things of like actually managing people. So I don't know if I mentioned that, but one of the things that I'm also very passionate about is cyber education, and I developed a cybersecurity master's program for YU, and I became the program director there. So I have, like today, we have 180 students in the program,
Wow.
and sometimes I'm getting like these questions from them, like,
Mm-hmm.
we really develop our own things, but we're in a master's degree in cybersecurity. What is the right path? So, I don't think there is a great answer for that, but I think that if you're really like that kind of person that enjoy like wearing different hats and like just doing and learn new things every day, so being a founder is definitely for you. Because every day looks different, and like even during the day, you're wearing different hats and you're a different person on any call. So sometimes, it could be challenging, but it also a lot of fun.
That's great. We have a fellow in the CISO community. His name is eluding me now, and I'm gonna, as soon as we finish recording, I'll remember it and feel stupid. But he puts out this CISO mind map every year, and it's kind of like all the skills and all the things it takes to be a CISO, and all the little nuances, and that you need to know the governance and compliance, you need to know the technology, you need to know the business, da, 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 da. And I think it would be really fun to put one of those together for the founder side of the fence, and just have this like, here's everything I do, like here's the skills I have to succeed, right? And just have this massive map of all the cool things that you're doing. I think that'd be super fun to put together.
Yeah, I mean, would love to see something like that.
That's cool. All right. Well, we can maybe work on that one on the side. Well, Sivan, thank you so much for coming to chat with us here. Inaugural episode of Founder Stories. You knocked it out of the park. These are some great founder stories. Thank you for answering my questions. Folks, if you are interested in learning more about Onyxia and their cybersecurity management platform, you can go to founderstories.tv. That's founder singular stories plural.tv/Onyxia, Onyxia. And Sivan, thank you again.
Thank you so much.